Are you ready to hear an inspirational hero tale about one of our four-legged friends? My name is Kim, and this is Harry Hero Tales. Welcome to episode 11 of Harry Hero Tales, Animals to the Rescue. I'm your host, Kim Hagel. Today is part 2 of our interview with Tom Equels, the author of The Horseman's Tale. The Horseman's Tale is available for pre-order on Amazon or Kindle and officially releases on October 1st, 2024. For more information, please visit the website www.thehorsemanstale.com. Now get ready for a continuation of our interview with Tom Equels, starting now. All right, so there are some characters in the book, one in particular that I wanted to ask you about because I'm dying to know. He's one of my favorites, if not my favorite, in the book beyond the main character. Is he a real person or inspired by a real person? And that is Izzy.
Yes. Well, Izzy is inspired by real people, not particular persons. He's an amalgamation of a couple of people who've not only been friends, but mentors and people that I've loved and respected, especially with regard to my horsemanship activities over a very long period of time.
He was one of my favorites, and I found him to be, so for our audience, when you read the book, you'll learn about Izzy. Izzy is a jockey, a very successful jockey that the main character, Jake's family, takes in. There's some backstory there as well that you will enjoy. Izzy is young, but Jake obviously is several years younger than him, so he's almost as an older brother. Jake is dealing with issues, whether it be at school and or parents, and then what is happening in the Deep South at that time. And Izzy is a sounding board, sage advice, and funny. I mean, there's elements of their interaction that again was an exploration and something I didn't see coming, but I thoroughly enjoyed. And I was hoping to find out a little more about the inspiration for the character Izzy.
But there are some friends of mine over the years that helped me create that character, and the horsemanship is something that is learned. It doesn't come naturally. And what I know about horses in the course of my life, I learned from my parents. I learned from friends that helped teach me. And in those relationships, like my relationships with many of these horses, have been very close relationships. If I may, you mentioned the segregation issue. People sometimes forget what it was like in the 1950s and 60s. In Florida, anyway, that's the only place where I had any experience. And I remember when the schools were desegregated, all the violence that took place. I was in high school and just starting high school, and there were fights, and it was horrible. And the Ku Klux Klan and that activity. But back then, and this is in the course of my lifetime, anybody that was of color was a second-class citizen. There was strict segregation. The story about the library and how we would go to the library with Izzy, they would have all the same books, but there was a colored entrance and a white entrance. So you had to go in different doors to get to the books. And then the reading rooms were separate. Now we have to remember, we've made a lot of progress over 50-year period. And that progress has been hard won, but it's made a difference. Florida today, you look at Orlando today and what it was like in 1950, you couldn't even tell that it's the same place. But it wouldn't be what it is today with the jobs, the opportunities, the top universities, if not for the changes in culture where we dropped racial segregation and racism and sexism and all these backward ideas exclude people from participation. So So this story gets into that only with a slice of what real life was like back then. And this is the way I told the story was fictional, but I was in a fist fight as a sophomore in high school because somebody pushed me. I did have friends that were Black, and we were on the track team together. It was the first time anybody was going to school together. So it didn't occur to me that you couldn't be friends with people. But also there's a part of me that's a little bit like Jake too. If you push me too far, then there is a berserker in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it
So
took him a while to get there in his childhood. I mean, he witnessed a lot and he stood up for what he believed in, but not necessarily physically for a while until his father prepped him. And Izzy
yeah,
gave him some advice behind the scenes as well. And both
yeah,
of those voices merged at a key moment that had an impact in the environment around the town, at least from what I remember reading in the book. So Izzy was pivotal in bringing that element of Jake and that part of the story out. And so I liked him as a character. I found him an interesting read and liked him for Jake, as he'd been with him for a while throughout the story, but he was pivotal certainly at the beginning. If you were to describe the audience, who should be reading this book or aware of and making sure that they get this book for someone in their family, who is the audience for this book?
the book is what I would call adult contemporary fiction. It's for adult or mature readers, and it does deal with issues of sex and violence that are inappropriate for children. But it deals with those issues in the context of some very important themes. And these themes relate to what I think are almost common religious components. In any religion that's out there, you have concepts of recognizing your errors and your frailties, working towards reconciliation and redemption as a theme. So these are things that we all strive for ultimately in our personal development. And in this book, it takes one man who has many flaws. He has issues that he's ashamed of. He has issues that he's afraid to let people know about. He has issues, that he's hidden for much of his life. And you see him open up to himself in this journal and learning to accept and love and forgive who he is. And that's something that I think is common to almost everybody, because one of the important things we can do in life is learn to love and accept ourselves. It's very hard to accept others and love others if you haven't gotten to a place where you can love yourself and learn to accept and forgive who you are, the things you've done. So I think that it strikes a common chord most adults would find interesting.
The arc of the story. So from Jake's point of view, right from the beginning to the very end, can you describe that character arc for our listeners?
Well, remember that the novel takes place during a 5 or 6 hour period, but in that 5 or 6 hours, you're seeing the arc of a lifetime, and you're seeing a man who is reaching these epiphanies at a time when he's old and really all alone. So this is a story where the journey begins and ends in self-discovery that really only takes place when we're able to be alone with ourselves, able to achieve that inspiration of the soul that allows us to start to see what we can be.
So in writing the book, what did you learn about yourself?
I learned that unlike when I do a painting, when I do a painting, I can see it and I can make the refinements and everything, but I don't really necessarily live in that character. But I had the experience when I wrote this book of, and I know the life that I've lived and everything, but it was like having the opportunity to live another life, to get into the skin of this character. And there's a part of me that feels like I've been Jake Montgomery. That's how deep I got into trying to tell this story. And I think maybe the only other place where you see that might be with actors. If they're doing a movie where they play a character, this is the first time in my life where I had to really get into a character. I found that to be enlightening because there are things you can learn when you're playing that other role that maybe would never occur to you thinking about yourself.
How do you think your main character, how do you think Jake changes from the start of the book to the end of the book? I know we talked about the arc of the story. I know it's within a 5 or 6 hour period, but how something in him has to, you said he learned some things or he has some revelations, something in him has to change. What would you describe that change being?
In the end of the book, it shifts where he's been writing and putting this into his journal and he falls asleep. He wakes up and things happen in real time now, not as a part of the journal, where he has an epiphany about who he is and what his place is in life and how his true nature, that what he sees now was very simple. And it is a horseman and it somehow had gotten lost in this volatile spectrum of personality that he's lived through for the prior 72, 74 years. So that epiphany is what wraps this book up. And it's probably talking about a place where all of us want to be, to understand why we're here. What is my true nature? What is my purpose? And when that comes to us, we probably find it's a much simpler version than anything we ever imagined.
So by exploring what he's written, some of the noise that maybe got in his way clears, what it
Yeah.
sounds like you're describing, and he lands in a probably quieter, simpler place. So that's a big change from certainly where the book started. So that's a worthy journey to take.
It also introduces another horse character that is very much a part of my life. A few years after Shiloh passed, we had a tricolor Pinto colt I named him Hidalgo, and spent the morning riding him out in the forest this morning, and he's very much become an important part of my life. And he's also a 2-time national champion. So
Wow. Wow. So Hidalgo de Luna?
Hidalgo
Is that
de
right?
Luna.
So I actually read an article where you were riding Hidalgo and an accident occurred. And you actually, at least according to a quote I found from your daughter, she said you saved the horse, but you ended up in the hospital. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, there was a little bit of a joke because what happened was we had been on a long trail ride and there were several of us and we were coming back on a very well-traveled path. And there was an antique clay jug that was like buried beneath the ground from somebody dug it up and said things like 100 years old. And when he stepped on it, it must have broken. His hoof went down about a little more than a foot into the ground and he flipped over. We did a somersault and it was so fast that I didn't fall off the horse. What I was, once I got out of the ICU and everything, I had asked about how Hidalgo was and was told, oh, he's okay. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure that's because I broke his fall.
When I read the article, it was a scary situation and I was relieved to hear that he was okay. And then I got to the part where you were in the ICU for a while. So I'm glad to see that you're doing so well, and you're still out there riding him.
Yeah. And he's a very good horse. He wasn't sure what happened, but he just stood there and watched over me until the ECU emergency rescue truck arrived and carted me off. But he's like 13 years old now, so it's been a while.
Wow. Yeah, because in the book, I won't give away how the main character got him, but the main character got him, and he was still a colt. He was little.
Yeah.
So this is a now 13-year-old. So I know we're running out of time, and I wanted to explore with you. So our listeners are obviously animal enthusiasts. They may not be horsemen or horsewomen. They may not have a horse, but I'm sure they respect and love horses the way that I do and the way that you do. But I'm sure they would love to hear about any horses that have been heroes to you or any animals in your life that have been a hero to you.
I've had a couple of dogs that have been very important in my life, and one of them actually is an official hero. I had a Doberman Pinscher that was a perimeter guard dog that was wounded at our air base in Vietnam, and somebody had taken him in and helped her back to life, but she couldn't be used anymore as a sentry dog. And then we were only stationed there for 1 year at a time. So when this guy left, he was looking for somebody to take care of the dog. So I took the dog in, and she was probably the first time I'd ever had an extremely well-trained, highly intelligent dog. And so I depended on her. I always slept soundly when she was with me, because that was about as good of a guard dog as you could get. But also that was when I started to learn that there's a relationship that you can have with an animal that is not just a one-way street, or the human is superior, the animal is inferior. A relationship based in it's a spiritual concept of equality. And then years later, I rescued from Adopt-A-Pet an Airedale named Barney, and Barney had done a number of things in the community that had attracted newspaper attention. They're very positive, and he was awarded from Kennel Ration a Dog Hero of the Year award. So he was officially a hero. But Barney, unlike Spooky, the first dog I told you about, was a bit more of a scoundrel than a hero. But when things got rough, Barney would would stand his ground. And of course, the work I've done with horses, has been very meaningful to me. And the definition of hero is something it has to do with fighting and courage under fire. And I guess traditionally it does, but also I think of heroism in a different way. And that's like in friendship between people, or with a person and a horse or a dog. There's an element of heroism to standing fast, being steadfast in a relationship, having unconditional love, caring especially when you don't have to. And these are things that I've seen over the years, and where some of the horses I've had are true heroes.
So, if any of our listeners want to get involved in supporting equine therapy, or any groups that you would recommend, if they're inspired from reading the book and supporting anyone with PTSD or any other groups, how would you recommend that they get involved, or who should they reach out to wherever they live in order to get involved?
Well, almost every area now has established programs for equine therapy for people with PTSD, for people with Down syndrome, autism. There are a number of chronic diseases where equine therapy has been found to be very important, as well as psychological disorders. So if you look on the internet, you can find a place nearby. And if it's something where you think it might help you, these are typically organizations that provide these services for free as a community service. But because of that, and because of the charitable nature, we also depend on the largesse of people to help support those programs. So that's what I would recommend if there's an interest in either obtaining equine therapy or assisting in it. It's very difficult to start a program like that on your own unless you're already involved with horses, for example, and have the skill set, as well as horses are very expensive animals to maintain and so forth. So you would have to have that infrastructure available to you.
Can you tell us about your background as a Vietnam veteran and how it has influenced your work?
Well, when the Vietnam War was going on, I enlisted and enrolled in a flight training program. I, I did that out of an idea of patriotism and a commitment that I still have a firm belief in, that we have a duty to serve our country and our Constitution and our way of life. But after experiencing the war, I realized when I got back to the United States that there were a lot of things that we needed to fix here to strengthen our democracy, to strengthen the concepts of liberty, justice for all. And I focused on going to law school and becoming a lawyer. And as a part of my work, I was a business lawyer, but made a part of my work social justice litigation. So I did, whenever possible, civil rights cases, poverty law cases. I did several criminal cases where I thought the people were innocent. Be one of the few people who has never lost a criminal trial, but you have an unfair advantage when you really believe your client is innocent. It's the only reason you're doing the trial. Right?
Sure.
But the idea was that I could continue to serve my country and my community. And that's very important to me. And in a way, all of us have that opportunity. For example, my church here near the farm, we have a, a food kitchen with an open pavilion. And every day we serve a full meal for anybody who wants it. No questions asked. You drive up in a Rolls Royce and go in there and get a free lunch. But really it's there because we have hungry people in our community. And a lot of the older people are members, they actually come from far away sometimes to participate in our church because it gives them an opportunity to serve, and hands on. So these opportunities to serve, whether you're a hero in a war or you're a volunteer at a poverty soup kitchen, or you're writing a book that deals with issues that are, important to our country and our people and our development, is what I'm all about. And Vietnam was very, very much a pivotal time for me because there was so much sacrifice on the part of so many people that I realized if those values that I fought for then were true, I had an obligation going forward to uphold those values and fight for those values every day of my life thereafter. Because I was by grace spared from serious injury or death. And I think that what I learned has a destiny to it. And so that's what I'm trying to do here is fulfill that destiny, fulfill what I believe can be my gift back to the people of this country.
Wow. Amazing. I mean, your life and your contributions and the various paths that you took that and the achievements that you made on each of those paths are extraordinary and very inspirational. And hopefully our audience learns more about you and certainly reads the book, The Horseman's Tale, which is available, as I said at the beginning. It's available for pre-order now on Amazon or to download on Kindle, and it's officially launching on October 1st. And thank you again, Sir Tom. I have to say it because it's very special. You are Tom. Thank you for telling me I could call you that, but I have to end it with Sir Tom Equels, the author of The Horseman's Tale.
Well, thank you very much.
On behalf of Harry Hero Tales, Animals to the Rescue, I sincerely thank our guest. Tom Equels, for his time with us today. If you're interested in more information about the book, you can visit the website, thehorsemanstale.com, or visit Amazon, where you'll find information about the book and its availability. You can certainly pre-order it today. So while this only touches the surface of this amazing hairy hero, we have to leave it there for this episode. If you know of a great hairy hero tale and would like to hear it on this podcast, email us at hairyherotales@gmail.com. For more information on this program, visit our website, www.hairyherotales.com. Now remember, that's TAILS.com. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you get your podcasts. This is a Southpaw Productions podcast, edited, produced, and hosted by me, Kim Hagel. Opening and closing music is provided by Mary Selvage. Be sure to follow her on Instagram at Selvage613 for her live show schedule, and check out her complete catalog of music available on Spotify, Apple Music, and more. And remember, there are hairy, four-legged heroes all around us. Who knows? You might even adopt one. I've adopted many little heroes from some amazing animal rescue organizations, and I've featured two on my website, the All-American Dachshund Rescue and the French Bulldog Rescue Network. If you are looking to rescue your next hero or would like to help with transport or financial support, I highly recommend both of these organizations. Neither are affiliated with this program in any way, but they both have my sincere gratitude and support. Thank you to all of the heroes of the world, and a special shout out for hairy heroes everywhere.